Good timing, because the 155 weight class right now in the last couple of days got crazy. What's your thought on what just happened where both guys in a title fight wound up bowing out because of injuries?
I mean, honestly, I didn't even hear about it till you just said it, so
Really?
you might want to refresh me right now. Cause
At UFC 130, Edgar had to pull out first because of an injury, and then a couple of days later, Maynard pulled out. So I was going to ask you, that's out. The main event is gone at UFC 130. So now, it's hard to break your heart because I know you're waiting for a title shot, but guess what? Now that fight's going to be pushed back like 8 weeks. So keep winning because it's going to be a little while.
Wow.
How crazy
Okay.
is that?
You know, that's why I said, man, you know, when I fought Dunham, you know, yeah, I want a title shot. Yeah, I feel I'm ready to be a champion. You know, in my past, I probably wouldn't have been a good representative to carry that belt. But, you know, now after, you know, turning over a new leaf and being with Greg Jackson, you know, I'm patient, man. You know what? If I don't get that title shot this year, like I said when I knocked out Dunham, I'll go undefeated this year. And I'll try my best and my hardest to stay undefeated. You know, you don't know what tomorrow carries, but you know, I'm gonna do my part as in standing healthy and staying in shape, staying out of trouble. I'm gonna do my part, and you know, when I get that title shot, that's when the good Lord will, you know, have it ready for me. Until then, I just have to stay healthy and keep fighting. So, you know, all the best go out to both of the guys, Edgar and Maynard. I hope they get well, and I want to see a good fight. I'd rather both guys go in 100% healthy anyway, because you don't want any flukes in fights. You want to know who's the dominant guy, you know, and I wouldn't want somebody to win a belt and someone say, well, that guy didn't really win. He only won because that guy got injured. And then next thing you know, I take a belt from one of those guys and they say, well, he wasn't the real champion. So, see, it trickles down, you know what I mean? You don't want to be that guy. So I'd rather both guys get healthy. If it takes another year, so be it.
Well, you know, the interesting thing in the way it went down timing-wise, so Edgar went out. Maynard was still in the fight. They offered it to Anthony Pettis. Pettis took it, and then Maynard went out with legit injuries. But I'd have to think, you know, Anthony Pettis is a little disappointed. Would you be disappointed to hear that they offered Anthony Pettis a shot at one of those guys before you, or does he deserve it?
Well, let me tell you, man, Pettis, you know, he's a good friend of mine. And I'm not only saying this because he's a friend, but I'm going to speak logic. You know, if you buy a company and you bring in another champion, that guy's a champion, period. You know what I mean? Had it been Ben Henderson, same principle. I think those guys, yes, we're fighting our butts off to get up that ladder, but right now I think they need to weed out all the champions, because if you don't do that, then you still have a clusterfuck, because everybody's like, well, who's the real champion? Who's the real champion? I think that was the best thing with Dana and them buying the companies anyway, was to see who's the #1 guy at top. So right now, I say let all the top belt holders knock each other off, the same way with Strikeforce, you know. Let Gilbert Melendez jump in the mix too. You know, I'd rather see those guys get a title shot before me, because when those guys get the belt, whoever ends up with it is the real champion. There is no, well, he's 1, he's 2, and he's 3. You know, just because you were in the UFC didn't make you the overall pick. I look at a champion based off of who the guy fought, you know, who's his next fight, and look at, you know, the whole, like, how he beat guys, you know.
That was a good answer. And that was like right off the cuff. You just found out about all that. So that's honest. Do you look back at old interviews, like say like 5 years ago, and go, I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago?
I do. I just looked at something the other day. I even actually watched the Ultimate Fighter 2 season. Like, I wanted to throw that disc away when it first came out, you know, because my wife I'm with now, she didn't know me back when I was on Ultimate Fighter. And a while back when they showed the marathon in Houston, her mom and dad and all of them were watching it. I had to leave the room because I was like, I'm not that guy anymore, you know, and I felt embarrassed. I did, you know, for my mother-in-law and father-in-law and my wife now to see me as that person, it kind of sucked. But I always went back and told myself, my grandfather always told me when he watched the show, you were young then, you were a kid. You look at that as a blueprint of what you don't want to go back to. And that came from my grandfather, and I respect my grandfather so much to where, you know, I looked at it again, and every now and then I look at it and tell myself, you know, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be a good representative of the sport. I want to be a good ambassador, and I want to be able to go and talk to kids and tell kids what not to do, because I was that guy. You know, it's easy for some people to go and say not to do something when they haven't been through anything, but all I've been through in the last few years, it gives me a real honest, like I can be honest with people. You know, I go to someone and they say, hey, you know, if a kid asks me in an interview, you know, I've talked to kids before, and they be like, well, you're a good athlete and you look strong. Have you ever did drugs? I don't hesitate to tell a kid, yes, I did drugs, and it's not cute, it's not good, and your life can be down the drain like that. Fortunately for me, I was able to save my life, you know, and it was me. You know, yes, it was people around me, but I learned this in rehab. You know, you could go to rehab and not really get rehab. You have to go to rehab and want to be saved. You have to want to be better in life. You have to want that rehab to work. I learned that in rehab, man, and you know what? I going into rehab, I didn't think any of that would work for me, but it showed me something. You know, it showed that you can have all the money in the world, and you see a lot of celebrities in and out of rehabs. Why? Because you can spend all the money you want. If you don't want it to work, it won't work. You know, so it gives me a chance to be honest with people, you know, and am I ashamed of it? No. You know, I had fun when I had fun. You know, it was fun. I had my fun times. I've had my bad times. Do I regret any of it? No. I just live life, you know. Now I just live life in a more proactive way. You know, I want to be a champion. I want to be another GSP, if not better. You know, GSP is one of my mentors. He's a teammate of mine. I want to carry myself the same way.
On GSP, you get mad at people when you see them booing him at the last fight. He was a little dinged up. He fought a smart fight. He didn't fight a killer instinct fight. Do you get angry when people talk like that, or is he fighting smart?
Well, you know what? When you're the champ, everybody's out to get you. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a smart fighter. I mean, even now, I'm very aggressive the way I fight now, right? But I'm smarter. You know, in the past, man, I would go in guns a blazing, and I end up getting choked out. I still have my same burst. I still have the same charisma. I'm just smart about it. GSP is a smart champion. Same thing with Anderson Silva. People are booing him now. Why? I mean, you wanted a dominant champ. People want something, and then when something's going great, everybody wants something different. You know what? It's not about them. You know, yes, you love your fans, but at the end of the day, we're the ones getting there, taking all the risk. A lot of the people that get mad, they probably can't run 3 miles on a treadmill, you know, for 20 minutes, you know, 30 minutes, you know what I mean? So, you know, and I'm not dissing anybody. I just say some people that are heavy critics, they should know what it takes to be a real MMA fighter, and then they'll know what we go through, because what we do in the cage, that's only a small percentage, very small percentage of what it takes to be a champion. Those people don't know we give up so much, you know, with training, with not seeing our family, with, you know, taking those risks. You know, with great risk come great reward, but at the same time, if you take those risks and you fall, then what? You know, I've seen champions fall off the top, even in boxing, and then they disappear off the face of the earth. I wouldn't even want to be that guy.